Hey, I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Today I'm going to show you how to install a Tusk Stage 3 Upgrade Kit on your Can-Am Maverick Trail. The Tusk Stage 3 Upgrade Kit is the premium option out of the 3 kits, and it comes with some of our best-selling products to make your new machine stand out and look good, and you're going to have a more comfortable ride with some of the stuff on there. So what the kit comes with is the folding glass windshield. You've got your pivot folding mirrors with A-pillar mounts, the Force aluminum roof, a Polycarb rear window, and a spare tire carrier. So again, some of the best-selling products all in one convenient package. Now all of this stuff is simple to put on, so let me show you how. To start out, we're going to install our roof. So first thing we want to do is make sure it's clean. I'm going to use some soapy water on a rag and wipe it down. After that, we're going to install the 2 roll cage clamps in the back. So first we're going to remove that button head bolt from the flat section and then remove the back of the clamp. Now we're not going to be using the rubber strip that comes inside, and when you install this, we're just measuring 4.5 inches from that weld on the inside. Come out 4.5 inches, and that's going to be the outside of our clamp. And when you put the back side of the clamp on, just make sure you leave it loose enough so you can make adjustments with this, and then we'll go do the same thing on the other side. Next, we're going to install some foam tape on top of the roll cage, and that's just going to help dampen vibrations going to the roof. So with this stuff, we're just going to go down both sides and across the front of the roll cage. Next, you'll want to have a friend help you set the roof into place, and we're going to start out by installing the rear hardware. So that's going to be the M8 by 30 millimeter bolts. We're going to go through a flat washer through the roof, and then you have the aluminum spacers between the roof and the roll cage clamps. Now we're going to leave this hardware loose, and we're actually going to wait to install the front hardware until we have the windshield installed. Moving on, we're going to install the rear window. I'm wearing some rubber gloves to keep my fingerprints off it, and we're going to remove the protective film from both sides. I've got this on a blanket to protect the surfaces. Now we can bring this over to the machine and set it in place. Now as I set this in place, we're going to set the bottom end in first, and you can see as I'm putting it in, I'm having to bend the middle just a little bit. And then we're just going to slide this on the front side of that cargo bed. Once you have the rear window sitting like this, we need to press the window up, and these 2 tabs need to end up on the inside of the roll cage. Okay, so with the rear window sitting like this, I'm having a friend help me do that. What we're going to do, there's some longer bolts that come in the kit. We're going to put these through the 2 corner slots first. Next, we're going to install the 2 P-clamps or loop clamps. Now, this flat side, this is going to be on the inside, and we're actually going to sandwich the rear window in between the clamp, right in here. Then we're going to take the shorter bolts that come in the kit. We'll go through the clamp and put the nut on the inside. Then once you've done that with both clamps, you can go through, make your final adjustments with the rear window, and tighten all this top hardware down. Now I do want to mention to be careful and don't over tighten this hardware, otherwise you could actually crack this Polycarb rear window. Now that the hardware is tight, we can take care of the bottom 3 mounts. So inside of the cab, you see those 3 pre-drilled holes through the window. We're going to drill through that plastic panel just behind them and then install the plastic trim clips. And with those plastic trim clips, you just press them through, and then once they're in place, press down on the middle button and it's going to lock in place. Now we're going to start working on the folding glass windshield. Now with this, we need to assemble the vent door bracket. So I'm going to start with bracket C. I'm going to set that in place. We've got the 5 smaller button head bolts. We're going to be using those button head bolts to assemble this bracket. So we're going to come through the front side of the windshield into bracket C, and we'll put the nylock nuts on the back side. And obviously we've laid out our blanket, we've got the windshield facing down, and I have a 2x4 underneath this to help keep it off the table just a little bit while we assemble this. Then we're going to take bracket A. So you can follow along in your instructions if you want, but bracket A, this bend is going to be facing bracket C. And with bracket C, if you can't tell in the video, that bend is going forwards towards the top of the windshield right there. Now with bracket A, again, 2 of these smaller button head bolts, we're going to go through the front, put the nylock nuts on the back, then I'm going to grab bracket B. So the curve, if you have it sitting just like this, we're going to take the 5th smaller button head bolt. We're going to put it through bracket B and then through bracket A with the nylock nut touching bracket A. And all of this hardware is, we're going to leave it loose for now and then make some adjustments. After that, we're going to take the knob, we're going to put that through bracket B. We've got a friction washer in between bracket B and bracket C. And then thread that knob into bracket C. Then once all that is loosely assembled, what we're going to do is start getting everything tightened down. We'll get it to the point where we can just barely move it around, make our adjustments so the door can fully swing out and fully close, and then tighten the hardware down. Now, one thing you want to remember is this pivot for bracket B. What you want to do with that bottom bolt is tighten that until the nut lightly seats. Once it does, you're going to back that off about 1/8 of a turn, and that way that joint can move freely. Now we're going to install the foam tape across the bottom edge of the inside of the windshield frame. So we're going to cut 3 different pieces. I'm going to cut these to length ahead of time. And we'll go ahead and remove the adhesive backing and stick these into place. After that, we have 3 different pieces of bulb seal. So we've got 1 longer piece that's going to go across the top and the 2 shorter pieces across the side. And if you need a tighter fit with these, you can just simply pinch these together as you install them. The next thing we're going to prep is the windshield wiper. So we've got the knob with the mount. I'm going to remove the smaller nut from the end of the knob, remove the mount, and then we've got this plug in the frame for the windshield. There's 2 tabs. I'm going to press on those, push that out. And then for the mount, I'm going to remove this nut on the end. We're going to remove a rubber grommet and a washer. So we'll stick this through the frame. We're going to put the grommet on and then the washer, followed by the nut. And we're going to use two 17mm wrenches to tighten those nuts down. After that, we're going to prepare the wiper and wiper arm. So I'm going to remove that protective cover from the wiper. We've got two tabs on the wiper. We're going to press down on those, or press in on those, pop up the plastic cover. And we've got our wiper arm. That's going to go through the cover. We'll hook that onto the wiper, press the cover down, lock that in place, and then I'm going to flip this windshield over. So when I flip this over, I'm supporting it with my block of wood. I'm going to take this knob, insert this through the back side, and we're going to take the wiper arm, and right in the end right here, we've got some splines that need to line up with the splines on that knob. Once you've done that, you can reinstall that smaller nut. We're going to tighten that with a 10mm socket. Next, we're going to get the mirrors installed. So we'll start out by installing the mirror mounts. Now, normally there's a plastic cover over the A-pillars. You've got two Torx bit screws right here that you need to pull out and then remove the plastic cover, but our machine is actually missing that piece. So the next thing we're going to do is, one side at a time, we're going to remove the A-pillar bolts. This is just a 15mm deep socket, and we're not going to reuse the A-pillar bolts, but we will reuse those nylock nuts. Now for the mirror mounts, the mount is going to turn up like this. We've got the spacer on the back side, and the two M10 by 45mm bolts are going to go all the way through. So right now we need to start getting our windshield ready at the same time. So we're going to install our windshield mounting bracket in the bottom. There's going to be a right and left side. Now when you install this, this is the passenger side bracket, and it's going to look like an L right there. We're going to set that in place. Then we'll go ahead and reinstall the nylock nuts. We're going to temporarily tighten this down. We will be adjusting this stuff later on. But until we make those adjustments, these bolts are going to be snug. Now we can install our mirrors. The only things you need to keep in mind is, number one, you want to have the logo in the correct orientation. Number two, you're going to use a 13mm wrench. You're going to remove that bolt from the end, and you want to keep that star washer. We're not going to reuse the short bolt. Then we've got our longer bolt that's going to go through the mirror bracket. We've got another star washer that came with these spacers. Install the spacer, the original star washer, and then thread that bolt into the mirror. Then you can go ahead and use that 13mm wrench to tighten the bolt down. Then we'll do the mirror image of those steps on the other side. Next, we're going to set the upper support plate in place. I've got a couple of 2x4s holding that roof up and out of the way. And the two slots on top of that support plate, they're going to be facing up. There's two slots in the frame on those gussets right by that front roll bar. Then we're going to take our M6 by 20mm button head bolts, go through a flat washer through both of those slots, and we're going to put a flat washer and a nylock nut on the back side. At this point, you'll want a friend to help you set the windshield in place, and then we're going to take the 6 M8 by 20 millimeter bolts and we'll set those through the front of the windshield, and then we're going to put the nylock nuts on the back side of the mounting brackets. The next step is to adjust the windshield for optimal fitment. So that means the best fitment side to side and up and down. And to do that, you might have to loosen the A-pillar mounts as well. Move that around where you need it and then go through and tighten down the hardware. We've got the bottom hardware tight. After that, we're going to install the knobs into this upper support bracket or the filler panel. Once the knobs are in place, we can go ahead and tighten down the top hardware. The next thing we need to do is install the standoff bracket. So we've got 2 clamps that came in the kit. We're going to remove the 2 button head bolts on that flat section of the clamps. Remove the back side of the clamp and the rubber strip. And we're not going to reuse that rubber strip. We're just going to set the clamp with the flat side facing up. We're going to leave the bolts somewhat loose for now so we can still rotate the clamp. Then we're going to take the 2 button head bolts we removed from that flat section of the clamp, and we'll reinstall them back through the standoff bracket. We're using that lower slot on each side. We're going to fold it down onto this, make our adjustments, and make sure that both knobs go into the standoff bracket, and then we can tighten all the hardware down. Now, if you decide to run a light bar, the kit does come with some brackets so you can mount a 12-inch light bar up here, but the kit does not come with that light bar, so we are not going to be installing these brackets right now. At this point, we're ready to install the washer and the grommet onto these knobs. We're going to do that on both of them, and then for now I'm going to reinstall them back into the standoff plate. The next step is to verify that your windshield lines up with these nut inserts when you fold it back up into place. As long as that's the case, then you can go ahead and take the supplied drill bit that came in the kit and these 2 slots on the side of the support bracket. We're going to drill a hole right through the side into the A-pillar right there. And then we can use the self-tappers to bolt that front side down. Then we can install the hardware through the front corners of our roof. So that's going to be the shorter bolts that came in the kit, along with the flat washers. We'll go through the roof, and we've got a washer and a nut on the back side. With those in place, we're going to adjust the roof for optimal fitment. So side to side and front to back, we're going to adjust this, and then we can tighten down all the hardware in the roof. The next thing we're going to work on is the spare tire carrier. So to get this ready, we're going to remove all the bolts holding the back sides of the clamp on. So that's a 5mm Allen. Next, we're going to flip the lug stud bracket over. So we need to loosen up all 4 bolts that are in it right now. We'll completely remove them. And when you flip this over, this flat mounting section, that's going to be facing the front of the machine still. And then we're going to loosely reinstall all of that hardware. Next, we're going to take 2 bolts and 2 nuts from the hardware pack. We're going to mount the center mounting arm to the lug stud bracket and the spare tire carrier. Now, when you do this, just make sure this arm is facing up with the lug stud bracket like that. We'll go through that lug stud bracket. And all this hardware, we're going to leave it loose until we actually have everything mounted up on the machine. That way we can make adjustments. And then again, on the bottom, we're going to go through the mounting arm with the bolts. Now, when you put the nuts, it's going to be a little hard to reach, so you're probably going to have to snake up in there with a wrench to hold the nut into place. So I'm actually going to flip this over to do that. For the next step, you want a friend to help you. You want to set the spare tire carrier in place, make sure it lines up on the top and the sides, and have your friend install the clamps and the mounting hardware. And all this stuff, again, it's going to be loose for now. Next, you want to make sure the spare tire carrier is centered on the roll cage. Once you've determined that, then you can go ahead and tighten down the clamps, and we're going to start tightening these in a crisscross pattern. Now we can tighten down the mounting bolts for the center mounting arm. After that, you can adjust the lug stud bracket. So ideally, when you set your spare tire on here, you at least want about 1 inch of clearance between that mounting arm and the tire itself. So you can push this up or down wherever you need it, and then tighten down the hardware. That's how you install the Tusk Stage 3 Upgrade Kit on your Can-Am Maverick Trail. It's simple as that. If you need this kit, it's available on our website. We also have other accessories on there, so be sure to check that out. And if you have any questions about the install process, leave those questions down in the comments below. Now, if you want to see more helpful content like this, subscribe to our channel. I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Thanks for watching.